Let's get this party started.
Okay.
You're tuned into the Endless Honeymoon Podcast. I'm Moshe Kasher.
And I'm Natasha
We've got-
Kasher.
Yeah. Oh, you've changed your last name?
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome. We've got a very, very special guest. Aparna Nancherla is here representing. What's up?
Aparna, you're so funny.
Thank you for having me. I was honestly nervous to come sit with you guys.
Why?
Because I think you're both so cool.
Oh, we are very cool.
Yeah.
We were, to be honest, and thank you for bringing it up, Aparna, we were a little bit weirded out by the idea of you coming over too because of how cool we are.
Oh my God.
You remember we were talking about that before she got here, directly
I love
before she
that
got here?
you can vocalize that for me.
Aparna, your face was spread out on our dining room table for like a week because of your New York Times spread.
Oh,
Yeah, we think you're cool.
oh boy.
And you looked so beautiful, and I loved the article, and your book is out, and we're so excited for you.
Thank
Unreliable
you.
Narrator, it is called.
Yes.
And yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a question, actually. You're finished with your book tour.
I think I have like 1 or 2 dates.
So you've probably
Left.
I've done a book tour and you've done a book tour. You've probably been asked like the same series of
Yes.
questions repeatedly and
Yes.
to the point that you've become nauseated by it.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for me about your book?
Oh.
I thought that could be refreshing for
Yeah,
you.
I love that. Do you typically read other comedians' books?
That's a good question. The answer
I could answer for you.
It's
It would be no.
it's a tough no.
I feel like that too. I never consume other people's work, and I try to spin it as, integrity. Like, I don't want to steal from you unconsciously.
I like that.
But I think it's just I get overwhelmed by everyone else's just ability to put out stuff relentlessly.
Will you watch other people's stand-up specials? No.
Sometimes, but I won't like go out of my way to like be up on all of them.
If you had to say whose stand-up special you enjoyed more out of me or Natasha's, whether or not you've seen them, who are you choosing?
I've seen both your Comedy Central half hours.
Well, Aparna, this is going to come as a real slap in the face to you because I know that you're lying. I know that you've seen Natasha's. You've got a great half hour, by the way.
It's so good.
But Aparna,
Really?
I've never done
I never
one.
did a Comedy Central.
When I said it,
Did
I
you
was like,
feel
I
it?
bet Moshe doesn't have one. I was like, for sure I'm walking into a trap.
I
for
have
myself.
a question though for real, and when I ask you a question that you've been asked ad nauseum on book tour, you can kind of flag it and
Okay.
tell me, just call me out on it.
Okay.
Stand up, it's a weird the book is a lot about imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And you're such a good stand up. You're just good. And stand up is so not to say I
Men
don't
can't wrap their mind around
No.
imposter syndrome.
No, not to say
I saw you kill, and I don't understand.
well, not to say that I don't ever suffer from like, do I belong in this room
Right.
feeling, but does the effectiveness of your stand up ever weigh in to the logic of the imposter syndrome? Do you ever say, I do consistently well on stage, so I must belong here?
I might just be a perfectionist, but I probably bomb more than most comedians.
Not
Well, also
definitely.
you might feel like you're
Yes,
bombing because I do
yes.
that too. Like,
Yeah.
And there's also that adage in comedy where it's like you're only as good as your last performance. And
yes.
I had a bad set at the Comedy Store like 8 days ago, and I've kind of been in a bad mood since then. I'm like, I need to. Maybe I should do flowers. Maybe I should design. Like,
I had a weekend in North Carolina, and all the shows were good.
Yes.
But the bad show legitimately wasn't.
Yes.
And my opener, Tim Young, very funny guy, he had a great set.
Yeah.
And as we
ooh,
were,
he had a better set than you.
I mean, that happens. But as we were walking out, these two
Hasn't
guys
happened to me in a long
made
time where the opener kills harder than me. I
well,
don't
maybe
know.
it's because I'm brave and I bring funny people to open for me. But the
that happened to me on the book tour but it almost feels unfair when a local opens and then they like really dig into the local stuff.
Sure.
And then you're like, well, I just got here. I don't know the culture.
You've been to the Hardee's on 84th? That's a bad Hardee's. But anyway, as we're walking out, these two dudes who had been at the show, they made eye contact with him, and I'm walking with him, and they go, "You were great." Very, very, you were great. And it was hard. They were right. In the moment.
Right.
I said, you should have come to the other show. I didn't say anything. I just put my head down and walked to the car.
That's very gracious of you.
Takes gymnastic classes,
Yeah.
and the teacher was really excited to see me at the Comedy Store, and
Yeah.
he was like texting me about it.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
after my set, Nothing. And then I texted him a few times about the schedule, and he was very nice. And he said, "Yep, we're on. Thanks so much."
Cringe.
It was a cringe. But also, like, whenever I go up at the Comedy Store, I always remember, like, they say Jim Carrey when he was trying to, before he started doing movies and when he was trying to, like, find his new persona, he was, like, curling up in fetal position at the Comedy Store, like, because he didn't know what to do on stage.
Oh.
But that's how I felt at the Comedy Store recently.
When you're about to do a show,
Yeah.
are you stoked or dreading?
Always dread.
Always.
too.
Always
Yeah.
dread?
Always dread.
From the beginning?
From the beginning of
Like when you were a young
day?
comic. I wanted to push back.
Oh, yes, from the beginning.
From the beginning,
Yes,
always
yes,
dread.
yes.
Oh, and you as well?
My dread started about 4 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years
the birth
ago?
of our child?
Well, it is hard because I'm like, wait, so then what do I do at night? Do I just watch TV? But like I do need to be here to put the kid down, and then it's like at 8:30, 8:45, and I got to get up at 6 a.m. I don't really want to drive to West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hello?
That's the
Is
thing.
this
I took
unrelatable?
I took a really long break when I was writing the book. I took basically like 3 years off of stand up, and the pandemic was in there, so it was like not a hugely productive time for performing, but I felt like you did, Natasha, where I was like, I had all my nights free, and then I was like, this doesn't feel good either.
Right? It's like, what am I gonna
What
do?
do I want?
I watch
You're like,
like
oh, I
Netflix
think I'm
and
unhappy and life isn't good. It's not it's not that I haven't reached the answer. I've come to the answer. Things are bad.
The answer is just not good.
Did you sorry.
do you have did you have a question? I'm sorry. Because
I did.
Okay, well, I want you to get to your question, then I'll get to my
Thanks.
question.
We're very polite to each other here on this
I love
podcast.
that.
Did you enjoy the process as
Of
a
writing?
stand-up of jumping off stage and like just getting into like writing a long meditation on self?
I think my big mistake was being like, I'm going to write a book about self-doubt and come out of this well.
Right,
Yeah.
because then everyone's reinforcing it in your
Yes,
interviews.
yes.
And you must have been it must have been a funny thing to like read what you wrote and be like, oh, I
Yeah.
fucking nailed that last
Totally,
passage
totally.
about
And-
how I can't nail anything.
Yeah, and I think the narrative people want is you wrote about your self-doubt and now you've like cracked it and now you're like so strong. And I'm like, I think it broke me a little bit.
Diving in that deep.
Yeah, because I think when you really like explore your insecurities, you're not like going to come out feeling great.
But I have to say, like, reading your New York Times spread, it made me realize, like, oh, I'm not alone. You know?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And that's another thing you have to, you know, you have a duty, you know, to like share, because you are so articulate and funny. It's like good to share this because I know
Yeah.
as soon as they started talking about imposter syndrome, I just know so many women,
Yeah.
mostly women, but I know that's hard because you don't want to gender it.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about that. And like one of your jokes I love, what did you say? It's always ladies' night when
when it comes to
when
self-doubt.
it comes to
Yeah.
self-doubt.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sure Moshe is never a fan of the gendering of things.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, like, does your partner believe that you're right, that that like it is gendered a little bit, or
I think he also falls closer to Moshe in that he's like,
Yeah.
things don't fall neatly along gender. But I do feel like when I was writing the book, I did talk to like a couple women who also were just like, I've never struggled with self-doubt. So I think it's not like a hard rule, but I do feel like women just tend to be, you know, less like assumed to be like competent or just like, there's room for you here. You kind of have to like really get yourself in there or like prove somehow you deserve to be there a little bit more. Whereas like men, I feel like it's kind of like you're here until, you know, you prove you're a monster or whatever.
Well, I don't believe that at all. And
No.
I'll tell you, now, hold on a second, guys. I'll tell you why. No, I think that's
I really think it has to do with size.
What
physical
do you
size?
mean?
I think that like men just being bigger, there's like something to that.
Well, I
I'm
can
not
s-
saying all big men are confident, but like there's something to a hulking frame.
Wait, have you ever watched Selling Sunset, Natasha?
No, would I like it?
Well, no, it's like about this, you know, realtor group in West LA, and the two guys are tiny. They're like two tiny Tims, and they're these like moguls.
Well, the thing
that's
but the
cute.
thing about a small man,
Yeah.
is because of, and it's not like I don't think anything falls along gender lines. Obviously, things
Yeah.
do. And I think this is an example. Like women in general are like, I agree with what you're saying. They have to fight their way into a space, and they have to get through the layers of sort of supported conditioning of like, oh, be quiet, be demure, fall back. A small man, a tiny little sunset real estate man.
A sunset
He's
sultan.
born into the man world. And so tiny men actually generally, they're more assertive than big hulking frame boys.
I think so.
Because they're like, I'm a man too. I must be a man. And my frame suggests otherwise.
Yes.
So I've got to penetrate. And I think about that, what you guys are talking about a lot with our kid.
Right.
I feel
that's
like,
what I was going to,
how do you, having written this is a question for you, the expert now, how do you think you encourage someone to eschew imposter syndrome? What is the way to inculcate this child with a feeling like you belong wherever you want? And what do you think?
Oh, and I'll just add to that too really quick. Her preschool teacher was like, she's really apologizing for a lot. She's always saying sorry. And the teacher goes to me, she goes, I think it might be coming from something she's hearing. Like it might be coming from you. And then I was realizing like I'm saying sorry all the time.
What?
And then she would like be on her scooter and then like accidentally like slip off. She's like, sorry. And I was like, oh wait, that's not your fault that you're falling.
Right.
And then like I really tried to work on my speech.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to add that to it too.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think there are like ways?
I was gonna say this is the line of questioning I've been struggling with, because the book was
was that as close as a red flag? I've been asked this before. Okay.
No. I just mean like the book is sort of my exploration of how I don't really have all the answers, and just like here are all the problems, and here's a couple jokes with in between the problems, but then I don't actually really suggest any hard solutions. So then I was like, my fear is that people are going to be like, so how do you fix imposter syndrome? And then the book is kind of like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, but you're
it's more
raising
like,
questions is a lot.
It's more like, I mean, who am I to tell you how to fix imposter syndrome?
Yeah, we can't expect someone who wrote a book on imposter syndrome.
Why would you even ask me? I don't even belong here, the truth is.
I know.
You know what you have done, Aparna?
What?
Is now that you will, because books get you this different group of fans, because book
Totally.
people are different than comedy
Yes.
people. And it is, like my first book, there's a lot of recovery people that I'll see reach out to me and go, oh, this book meant so much to me and stuff. So you've definitely collected a demographic of people that are going to be coming up to you and asking you for answers.
Oh, wow.
I think this is going to be a long road for you. Did you read any of the reviews?
No. I never do. Do you guys read reviews?
I wrote because my second book is coming out in January.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I told the person, because they've been sending us the early reviews.
Yeah.
And they've both been good. And I
Yes.
said, this reminds me, because I remembered my last book, they sent me everything. They would send bad reviews, and I don't actually understand why. Maybe some people want them, but I said, hey, I'm sensitive.
Yeah.
I've gotten more sensitive since the internet has surged.
Yes.
I need you to filter anything, any shit talking. I still remember the look of the vomiting face in Vice magazine for my first book. You know, that was their review system, was smiley face or vomiting face.
A vomiting face for your bestseller book?
And it was so
That
rude.
is so rude, and also anything personal to rate
I know,
it in that way.
I know. It was so, but I still remember it like viscerally opening the magazine, seeing the face, because I wanted
the green vomit.
green vomit, because it's Vice, so I wanted
Of
them to like
course.
me, like
Of
so
course.
specifically.
Do you remember
like,
why they didn't like it? I'm just curious.
actually, you'll be surprised.
You can quote it.
You'll be surprised to know.
Recite it like a
It's like
poem.
11 years ago. You'll be surprised to know that I didn't agree with their take. But they basically were saying it wasn't hardcore enough. That was sort of their thing. They were like, yeah, this is a hardcore story unless you've looked out any window in Brooklyn ever. Like, it was like, this is just my
I actually
life.
agree with them.
I
really like
you
that.
wrote it.
Wait, so I just want to say,
All right, speaking of a review, this is going to be the first one you've ever heard.
it's not
Oh,
a
the first
review.
one. Well-
it's just, as Vulture put it, I just want people to know you could buy this book. Are you reading the audiobook?
Yes.
Okay, so if you are the kind of person who lies awake at night, mulling your existence under late capitalism, Nancherla is the comedian for you. That's me.
Yeah, it is you. It really is. It
She's
should
the
have said
comedian for me.
if you are Natasha Leggero.
I also want to say, in terms of imposter syndrome, like I do think that we are progressing, and we have progressed even in the past 10 years. Like when I started stand up 20 years ago, like there was a show, Comedy Death Ray at M Bar, and it was like the best show to be on. There was never more than one woman on the show.
Yeah.
You know, and that's no one's fault. It was just like, that's just how things were. It was like 80% men all the time. And like if Jen Kirkman was on that night, there wouldn't be a space for, you would never have like Maria Bamford and Jen Kirkman.
Right.
And that was like, and then Comedy Death Ray was the one that was like sensitive to women.
Yes.
That would make sure there always was a woman.
Right.
You know, and it was like, they didn't care if there was people of color, not Comedy Death Ray, but like any show.
Yeah.
Like, it would just be like 9 white guys. So I do think that we have come a long way, and like I'll be on shows with like 5 women or all women.
Totally.
And that's so cool.
Well, actually,
it must contribute to it, though, don't you think,
No,
Moshe?
but if you're a straight white guy these days, it doesn't feel that equitable. On the other side of it, I don't know if you noticed or been reading the trades, but I can't get any work.
Oh, sometimes there's not even one white guy on the show.
I know. It's like monthly or quarterly, I'll see a show and there won't be one white dude on there. But I do think, what you're saying is interesting. Like at the time, what feels now like tokenism and pandering and definitely not enough, at that time 20 years ago was the most progressive they were like, no, we're the good show.
Right.
We're putting a woman on.
Yeah, I know. Look at us.
But I had a show another period, and I was not like able to figure out how to make it diverse because I was very obsessed with it being like a period piece.
Yeah.
And like, I just feel like there is an evolution that takes place, and I think that now I wouldn't do it in the same way that I did before. And I think we're all figuring it out.
I think it's all gradual, and I even feel that now when I see younger comedians where they're just like so much more comfortable with like operating in like a more inclusive way, and it makes me feel like kind of like, oh no, like,
oh yeah,
I'm so old.
You ever see like a real Gen Z person deal with non-binary people? It's like they're not even there's every time I'm just like, in my mind I go, they're like, they think it's weird to use,
everybody.
They think it's weird to use gendered pronouns.
Yes.
Like, it's like a breeze. It like I told this story I think on the podcast before, but I had this moment of, I just thought this was one of the most interesting stories about progression in this way. Our friends told us that their kid had a best friend who came out to them. This is like, I think middle school or high school, young.
Yeah.
And the guy goes,
the dad.
What?
The dad.
No,
said.
but the kid goes to their friend, okay, I'm gay. Do you accept me? And the other kid goes, well, I accept you if you're really gay and not just doing it for likes. And I just thought, what universe is this? Like the only way this is cool is if it's legitimate that you are gay and not just doing it because it's the coolest possible thing you can be. I was like, okay, this is an evolution.
Wow. It's fully come around. It's like the opposite.
Well, I think that you have a lot of wisdom, Aparna, and sometimes when I'm feeling like an imposter, I just try to will myself into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of imposter syndrome is just like kind of pushing through. And I think, when you talk to other people and realizing they're having these same sort of struggles with like being like, do I deserve to be here? Do I fit in? You're like, okay, not everyone is like so psyched on their like abilities and
God, wouldn't it be nice though to be one of those people? Like,
I know. I think about that all the time.
You are one of those people.
Honey, you think I am, but you have, I mean, there's people that walk into every room and they're like, not only do I belong in this room, this should be my room.
Totally.
I own the room.
They're kind of like the room only mattered once I walked in.
That's right. The room was, dare I say, not actually a room until I arrived.
Yeah.
I am the fourth wall.
But then we're coming so close to like a psychosis.
No, totally. Yeah.
They suck too, for sure. Yes. No, if you're talking about who I want to have dinner with, it's definitely the person with imposter syndrome. If you're talking about who I want to draft underneath their success and write a script with, that's the person. I want but that's interesting about you because you say this, you've struggled with imposter syndrome, but you're also very successful, which means to me like you're really good, because confidence begets success. So to come in and go, I don't even know if I belong here, and still be so successful and so funny, you might be the most talented person on earth.
But I think a lot of really like people who have a lot of success struggle more with it, because I do think like the more opportunities you get, the worse the like feeling of like, man, I keep getting this stuff and I really don't feel like I deserve it. Like instead of the opposite, where you're getting the stuff and that makes you realize you're more deserving of it. It like goes the opposite.
It's like when you're one of these weird people that like has a gigantic lie.
Yes.
You know, and that you've told early on, and then the bigger things get, the bigger the spotlight on you, the more you're like, someone's going to find this out.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's sort of what imposter syndrome is. It's thinking there's a lie about you, which is that you're not good enough.
I actually cited an example of that in the book with, do you guys remember the comedian Steve Rannazzisi?
Sure.
And how he lied about 9/11. And how
Andrew Dice Clay used to call him 2T for the Twin Towers. Like, because before he got canceled.
Yes,
because he just talked about it all the time.
Yeah, but I think it was like I mean,
that was apparently a lie, but he came out about it.
From what I could understand, it was like, you know, he like got this success by being on the League, like a lot more attention, and I think he had like told it as a story early on as like an interesting origin story of like how he got into comedy. Was like 9/11 made him realize like what was important in life, and he like quit his desk job and moved to LA to try to make it. But then I think he was like just like more exposure too quickly, and he like didn't have a way to like get out of the fact that he had created this sort of like false origin story. So he just kind of doubled down on it. And so that's like a real imposter. But then I feel like imposter syndrome is like when you feel that way, but it's not actually based on anything.
Right. You think you have a false origin story.
Yeah.
But the origin is, I belong here.
Yes.
Can I be a real edgelord?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love it, honey. You know I'd love nothing more.
Okay. I feel that sometimes I let my imposter syndrome run rampant because there's something deep inside of me that knows on stage and maybe off, it makes me a little more likable.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm able to, by being like, it's almost like extreme humility or something that you can kind of almost draw people to you. But as you were talking, I was like, but then I'll be sitting at home being like, just beating myself up, like almost like an abusive person, like a wife beater.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, what if I could just get rid of that part? Like I could still keep the part on.
We don't like that term anymore.
Are you not supposed to say that?
Well, my community doesn't love that term.
She was going to be an edgelord.
That's true. You're so right. You're so right.
But I'm just saying, like, because I think about it a lot, and like sometimes in those private moments, I'm like, oh, what if I could just get rid of that part? Because that's obviously not healthy.
Yeah.
But if it's drawing people to you on stage and you're using it, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This sometimes feels like a gendered thing where I've talked with female comedians about like, it is more likely that a male comedian, when they come off stage, will be like, I murdered it, whereas like a woman will be like, they were really nice, like the audience gets the credit when it goes well. Like not like I did a good job.
Gracious. That's because we're naturally
really
gracious.
Interesting. They were good to me, not I gave them what they wanted. Yes. I will say this though, the male ego is a prison and it's a trap. And part of that I murdered is part of it is ego and male ego and reality, but part of it is also imposter syndrome. But the way men express their imposter syndrome is to go, I was never vulnerable.
Yes.
I felt nothing.
No,
I felt nothing but positivity. And to what you were saying, there is that idea that like self-flagellation and self-pity and humiliation is like the closest cousin to narcissism. It's just two sides of the same thing. It's all ego.
Are you calling us narcissistic?
No. I'm just saying, to your point, like a narcissist and a person that hates themselves are still doing the same thing, which is obsessing on the self. They're still going like, me is important. That is what is the primary interactor here is me.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Aparna's here.
She's
got some wisdom. She is a published author, New York Times. Everyone loves her.
Your book's a hit. You're a hit. You belong. You matter. You are not an imposter.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think we have some calls, some people waiting. Are you okay to give some advice?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
Hey, Tosh.
Yeah, Moshe.
It's almost Christmas, my favorite holiday.
Oh, right. I know you love it, Ebenezer.
You're probably scrambling to find a gift that will be meaningful interesting and kind of cool, well, we've got a suggestion for you. It's called Storyworth.
It's especially good for the older people in your life because they love this stuff. Basically, Storyworth is an online service that helps you and your loved ones preserve precious memories and stories for years to come. It's a thoughtful and meaningful gift that connects you to those who matter most.
Every week, Storyworth emails your relative or friend a thought-provoking question of your choice from their vast pool of possible options. Each unique prompt asks questions you've never thought to ask, like what's the bravest thing you've ever done in your life, or if you could see into the future, what would you want to find out?
After 1 year, Storyworth will compile all your loved ones' stories, including photos, into a beautiful keepsake book that you'll be able to share and revisit for generations to come.
With Storyworth, you can give to those you love the most a thoughtful personal gift from the heart and preserve their memories and stories for years to come. Just go to storyworth.com/honeymoon and save $10 on your first purchase.
That's storyworth.com/honeymoon to get $10 off on your first purchase. Your parents will love this.
Aparna, we are going to call. I have a question for you, though, before we go. All right.
Okay, no, you can ask her one more
Aparna,
question.
I'm literally recording my audiobook now, like this week.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy recording your audiobook?
No, I thought I would because I do voiceover work. So I was like, oh, this is not going to be a stressful part. But it is, I think just the length of time you're just like sitting there reading. And then I think because my book was personal and I was just like with a director and a sound engineer who were very lovely, but it would be just like sitting in this cave reading my own words back to me. And then occasionally they'd be like, oh, you stumbled on the word shame. Can you say that again?
Right.
You know,
Meanwhile, you're having like an emotional catharsis.
That's interesting because I feel like I was really directed doing mine.
Oh, like they had notes.
Well, I think I might maybe started off a little too hot.
Mm.
Oh.
Like, I like
Yes.
had to kind of ease into
You were
it.
doing like a Jim Carrey "Somebody Stop Me" kind of a performance on your audiobook, right?
Listen, I got a lot of compliments on the audiobook, okay?
I-
That's all I'm saying.
Can't imagine not. I mean,
Yeah.
what luck they have as publishers to have stand-ups doing their own
Totally.
audiobook. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I've been on stage doing me
I
for
know.
20 years, so yeah, I'll be good at this.
Yeah. We can't all be Britney Spears.
That
Getting
is so
someone
true.
else to do it.
All right, let's do it. We're
All
going
right,
to call
we're gonna call
Lucia.
Lucia. I
Yeah?
want to
Okay.
say it, Moshe.
Oh, I'm so sorry, please.
We're going to call, it must be late there. We're calling Lucia in Boston.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucia. It's Natasha, Moshe, and our friend Aparna Nancherla.
Nice to see you.
It's great to see you too. You look cool. You look like you're a
Yeah.
fun person. How can we help?
So I just started my business about 10 months ago, and I do both art and music, so it's a lot of like fitting pieces together, and I'm booking gigs, and I'm also teaching, and I'm also selling my art places, and I've also been in my relationship for about a year and a half now. So it's just kind of been hard to like find the balance there because we first got together when I had taken medical leave, so I wasn't very busy. So I went from seeing him every day to like not even really having off days, you know, if I'm not booking, I'm not working. And so I guess I just wanted some insight into, I guess, finding a balance there and also like setting some boundaries for myself.
I think you need to be a little more clear. Like, are you talking about, is it more about your relationship setting boundaries, or is it more about like your art and your career?
Yeah, I guess just more like finding that balance because he's definitely gotten like a little bit more jealous of my time, which I get. It's like a big adjustment to like go from like full access, like we're spending all our time together, and then like now when we spend time together, I'm like belting mushrooms like while we're watching a movie, or
And he's
you know,
like,
I
why
always
don't you
have
pay any
something.
attention to me?
It's a classic dilemma.
like-
It's actually a classic
True.
Boston dilemma. You know, the guy's like, why aren't you paying any attention to me? And the girl's like, I'm belting mushrooms over here. Whatever that is.
I know. I want to know more about belting mushrooms.
Yeah, what is belting mushrooms?
Oh, belting mushrooms.
Oh,
Like-
felting.
Felting.
with a
Oh,
needle.
Oh, now I get it.
Okay, now
Now
we
I
got it.
get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. We've all felted a mushroom or two.
Do you feel like he's jealous or controlling?
Well, I definitely think that he has an anxious attachment style.
Everybody
And
likes that in a man.
Maybe he has imposter syndrome.
yeah, well, and I think it can be like a little bit intimidating, like when I'm constantly out and about, and he'll every once in a while make, a little bit of an insecure comment, and like, I feel very compassionate towards that because I've been the anxious attachment person in other relationships. Like, I'm familiar with those feelings. Um, but I've changed a lot, and like, I feel so much more confident in myself and so much more excited to be in the world. So it's hard for me to like,
Regress right now because the pandemic
yeah,
happened and you're just getting your groove back. And now it's like, oh, you've got this guy at home and he's on his own journey, it sounds like, which is, he might not be the same. Like Moshe's way more not outgoing, but like, what's the word?
Social?
Well, extroverted.
Yeah.
Like Moshe recharges at like going to 3 parties in one night, whereas like I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna call in and say I'm not going to that party, or I'll send him an email tomorrow because I need to recharge at home. Like, it's just like how we feel recharged or whatever. So I don't know. Aparna, do you have any ideas?
Well, I was gonna say I think that's normal in every relationship to go through phases where like your schedules shift or your priorities shift, and it sounds like he's just maybe in a hurt place, like feeling neglected compared to like how much time you guys used to spend together as what you spend together now. And I think, no one knows the perfect balance in how to live a life, but I think you could start with just being like, have set time you spend together, whatever that is, like an activity you both agree on once a week, or like some sort of other way to just be present with each other, and then
pander to him a little bit.
Yeah, pander, like something where he feels like you're showing up for him, and then him not putting so much pressure on like every other moment in your life, or like your career taking up too much space.
That's good. Like kind of prioritizing him, and maybe it being her idea. And like, I want to do a date night to make sure we're getting quality time where it's one-on-one, me and you. I like that.
Oh, that's good, because you're actually you're pretending to prioritize him, but you're actually you're prioritizing yourself. You're actually saying, by saying I want to make sure that you feel like that we're having really quality time together. So let's do once a week at date night. You're actually making a boundary where your felting time, or whatever it is that you call your life, is protected. And that he's tricked into thinking that you're doing it in order to get, but it's also true. Listen, this whole podcast I've been saying that I reject gender essentialism, but I will say men are like puppies. Like, we really want to be told directly that we're a good boy. Like, I can say that for me. I really just want to be told that I'm a good boy. Like, I almost guarantee that if you were to say to him, I think you're so awesome, I love spending time with you so much, I do have all this new stuff going on, and I can see that like it's impeding on our relationship time, but like I just want to make sure you know that I'm prioritizing you, so that we'll do Aparna's thing. We'll set a date. We'll do a thing. And you couch it in all of this praise. He'll just be like, Master likes me. The mushroom lady likes me. And he'll be
mushroom lady.
I feel like that's what I want. I just want to be told I want to be with you, but these are the reasons that I'm having a hard time making the time. It's not that I don't want to be around you. There's nothing I want more than that. But I have this other stuff I must do. I feel like that's a winning combo.
And don't forget, these relationships before you're married, at least for me, I was just like, I would stay in a relationship till I was like, okay, you know what? I can't do that. This is not for me. And it's like, this is a good time to just be like, obviously trying to make everything work, but you're also really kind of sussing out compatibility and like long-term compatibility. And it's like, if he is like prone to this neediness and it's not working for you and you're always feeling guilty. Like, I remember I had a friend when they broke up with someone, and I related to this too, not with you, Moshe, but with someone else, where it's like, every time you talk to them, you think you're in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And like that's a bad, and it's like, then all of a sudden you're in a new relationship. You're like, wait, I don't have this feeling anymore. Like, it's totally different, because relationships are also about how the person makes you feel. And so if you're always, I'm just stab in the dark. I don't know if that's how you feel, but sometimes it's, if you do feel like you're always going to be in trouble or they're always going to be upset with you or you're never giving enough, it's like that takes a lot out of you, and that might not be a good long term.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, like, it sounds like you guys are in a place of like transition where things have changed from how they were. So I think Natasha's right in that you shouldn't expect like the dynamic you don't have to put up with like the dynamic as it is, but you could try something. And, if it doesn't work, like just keep in mind that you don't have to make the relationship work if it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, we don't think it's going to work.
No, that's not true.
But I think both Aparna and Natasha are getting to something really important, which is not to say that your partner's doing this because maybe he isn't, but no partner should ever punish you for your life going well. Like that is a dynamic that happens in relationships. It's like your life's going well, mine isn't, so I'm going to take it out on you, and I'm going to, not only is that abusive, but it also makes your success go either the success diminishes or the relationship goes away. And so that is a red flag. So that's what's cool about setting boundaries in that way, because then once you say something like, I love being with you, I want to be with you, here's date night, but here is my line because my life, it looks like this and it must look like this. He's got all the information he needs to respect or to trample your boundaries. And once when he chooses respect, you go, ah, great guy. And he chooses to trample, you go, ah, I'm out. More mushrooms.
And he does have a tendency to like place importance on like the type of time we're spending with each other. So in his mind, it's like, well, I haven't gotten much like time in succession with you that's like more than one evening or like a full day. Like I feel like he's constantly feeling like it's not enough, and I guess that's where I get discouraged. Is like the whole time I'm like, yeah, I'm like trying really hard, I'm like making time for this, I'm driving to him when I can, like, and then it turns out the whole time like he's still feeling like we're drifting further and further apart. And actually like 2 weeks ago we decided to take a break, and it was mostly like me saying like I just genuinely like couldn't keep up because I had like a huge release show and 2 back-to-back markets and a house show, and I was just like, I actually could not compute anything additionally, and I was like, I don't want to keep disappointing him.
But listen,
am I just being so selfish?
No, the pandemic is not the real world, and like he kind of got a different. It might not. Things are gonna have to. Maybe you need to tell this to him. I don't know, but it's like that was not what the world is like,
right?
And it's not like what it is for you now.
I mean, it's like, Aparna, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I just think this is like, what you're describing is this like phenomenon that everyone in the comment section on the internet agrees on, which is that it's possible for two things to be true at once, right? Which is, it's possible that that you are setting up these boundaries and that they are good and healthy, and it's also possible that he can't see those boundaries as healthy because all he sees is that he needs more. And so like, I mean, I don't know. It sort of feels like, well, I mean, I don't want to say, but the fact that you're taking a break due to the fact that he will not ever let you give him enough relationship, to me, I'm kind of like, there's nothing selfish about the fact that you want to thrive. It doesn't mean that you like someone less because you need to thrive.
And you clearly care about him because you're like thinking about this and calling an advice podcast. So a fake advice podcast.
Well, I do feel like I appreciate both of your insight because you're like two sides of a coin. And I feel like Moshe, a lot of the like more heart-based stuff I tend to align with, but then Natasha, I feel like you say the stuff I can never say that I need someone to say to me.
Okay, well, you should dump him. I wanted to tell you that, but I thought people would get mad.
Well, I have to be honest, like Natasha, I don't think you should dump him, but I'm kind of like, you kind of buried the lead. The truth is, like, we were about 2/3 through the call. We were like, yeah, we did take a break 2 weeks ago.
Because that's true. That's true.
It's kind of like,
I was like, yeah.
It seems like this guy's like, I hate to be mean, but it just seems like this guy's kind of turning you off because you're thriving, you're succeeding, and he's just going more. What about me? What about me? What about? And there's nothing attractive about that.
Yeah, and the fact that you are making an effort to address his concerns and it's still like never enough, that feels bad. I don't know. That feels not balanced either.
Yeah.
Well,
you are. To be honest, I just realized you are his felting mushrooms. Like you're out here doing life.
You don't even know what felting mushrooms is.
What I'm saying, your craft, your music, your art, you're out here. Your life looks like this, and then your relationship is a supplement to this life. He's like, my music, art, felting mushrooms is you. And so if you go do that other thing, then I got less life going on. And that is succubus behavior. It is not, in fact, a relationship. It is.
You said that word.
Well, to a man. I felt justified in saying
man incubus?
Incubus. I love the band too.
They are
Yeah,
awesome.
I meant the band.
Listen, well, did we help you at all, honey?
Yeah, honestly, I felt like that was helpful. And I feel like a lot of it is like, I guess I don't want to give him up yet, but like, I understand that like, it's for sure not sustainable the way it has been. So
There's never a good time to do a bad thing. You're just gonna have to like deal with it, and you'll meet someone else.
I mean, I'll just tell you, vibe check from me sitting here. I'm like, oh, she's obviously a cool girlfriend. She's obviously a smart, awesome person. She's not selfish. This is her just thriving. And this guy, listen, to be compassionate to him, he might be, who knows what he's dealing with? It's bad self-esteem. Maybe he hasn't recovered from the pandemic.
Maybe
whatever
he's
it is.
cheating on you, so he always thinks you're cheating on him.
There
you
we
never
go.
know.
Nice. All I'm saying is I'm not getting a wow, selfish asshole vibe from you like at all.
Right,
Like,
at all. Like the fact that you even called in, it's like you're very empathic and feeling his hurt.
yeah.
Yeah. So be easy on yourself.
And harsh on him. No, not really. All
I
right.
don't think I could do this.
No, you don't seem like you could.
Try and have some perspective.
Yeah. Well, you seem cool.
All right. Well, good luck, honey. Let us know what happens.
I love the podcast, Aparna. I love you as Moon. You're
Oh,
great.
thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
I called it
How
at
many
the beginning.
how many pity fucks you think she'll give him? Like 5?
Well, it just felt like
She's like gonna keep having sex with him.
people do that on this podcast.
What?
They have a bit of information that is like incriminating, and they like they put it back here, and then they
Oh.
say this like nicer stuff, like "What's up with boundaries and setting back?" And then it's like,
No, she
well,
was like, I'm a painter and I'm trying to juggle some careers.
and then finally, you're 15 minutes in. He's like, "Well, he has been unrelenting with my time, and I did break up with him recently." It's like, okay, you already answered it. It seems obvious.
I know, but it's hard.
It
Yeah, but I think people just want reassurance.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
true. But it's always
yeah.
hard to when you see. She's very good at it. She just goes break up
No,
immediately.
I feel like we all need someone like that in our life.
Well, I spent a lot of time in long relationships where I would date them they were 3-year relationships, and I would date them for like 11 months and
Yeah.
then spend like 9 months trying to dump them, or a year and a half trying to get rid of them.
Yeah. That's
Or
funny.
like, you just like stay with
Yes,
them
yes.
too long.
They were 1-year relationships that lasted 3 years.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, so sometimes it's good to get out of it if it's
Yeah.
really not feeling compatible.
I know.
And life is short.
Are you a breaker upper or a broken up with?
I've had both, but I think when I'm in a relationship, I get sometimes I just go into autopilot where I'm just like, okay, this is how it is. And I forget that we can both go our separate ways if we want to.
You're an I accept.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Will you just default watch what they want to watch? That's what I do.
That's a good question.
Sometimes, yeah, like the music in the car, I'm always like, I guess I just kind of like go with their thing until I realize that I'm not at all showing up for myself.
Wait,
We're like
Aparna,
50s wives.
I know, we really are. Oh, God.
Because like Moshe's just like, I would never think to be in charge of the remote. He's like, I just know that he'll find the thing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but I always say pick something.
No, and then you're like, well, there's this really specific movie from 1984 that I wanted to watch that's like has this actor that I've been reading an article about, and do you mind if we just watch it? And I'm like,
Well,
okay.
Natasha will do this thing where she's like, she doesn't want to watch anything I want to watch. She's like, I don't like that. We're not compatible. And then she'll go to bed, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll start watching something, and then I'll be like, Natasha, I saw something last night I think you'd like. She goes, why didn't you save it for me? It's like, but you went to bed.
Oh,
Twin Flames doc.
No.
Twin Flames doc.
Only because we don't have that much, like, in common.
Yes,
In life.
yes.
No, just in terms of our watching interests.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Like Moshe's like, let's listen. You want to listen to a podcast on babies as human shields?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I'm not in the mood for this right now. He's like, what do you want to listen to then? It's like anything but that. Like, probably never going to be in the mood for that.
That is fair. I will be like, hey, there was a documentary I wanted to see. I guess it was about like assassination in sort of preschools. Are you interested? And she's like, I'm never interested. And I kind of always forget.
Yes.
I'm always
yes.
like, is it possible this action movie will do it for you? It's like, yeah, I need to figure out more French stuff.
I might be closer to you, Moshe, because I always want the like trauma porn,
Yeah,
and then
same.
Gabe is always like,
Trauma porn.
that's what he
same.
calls it. He's like, oh, we gotta watch one of your trauma porns, and then I feel like a monster.
Aparna, when that happens,
Wait, is that because you guys like are really into like trauma? Like you want to like relive it or something?
I don't know.
Like as a
what it
mother,
is.
I don't want that in my psyche.
Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah, I think I'm a depressive, so it's like sometimes
Yeah.
just to feel anything, I'm like, let me see like babies being persecuted.
yeah, I will never forget. There was this documentary about this systemic failure in the LA social services network.
Oh, gosh.
That was one. It was so unbelievably horrifying. I won't go into any details, but I have this very clear memory of watching it until like 1 a.m. Natasha's asleep, and I'm watching this documentary. It's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I'm tired. I click pause, and I go like right to bed. Like there's no porting of the horrifying disturbingness of that I'm watching, and like it keeping me up at night like at all. And I thought about her being asleep and going, there is something fundamentally different about the way I consume bad information.
I thought you gave her really solid advice until we found out what her real problem was.
Right.
And then I was like, she just needs to dump him.
Yeah, I know. He really, yeah.
I don't like neediness. There's a few things I don't like in a man. I don't like neediness.
Yeah.
I do not like bragging. Like if someone starts bragging, I get like physically ill. I cannot be near them. And then mansplaining I've learned to live with.
But well, I will say,
Sure.
back to gender essentialism, there is something more.
At least you don't brag.
There is something. Well, I'm actually the best in the world at not bragging. There is something more repulsive. I mean, I don't like saying things like this, but I think it is true. There's something more turn-offy and repulsive about a needy man than a needy woman. That seems bad. That seems ignorant to say, but I do feel like that's just a bad look for a guy to be like.
Yeah, I don't
Some girls
know.
might like it.
Maybe.
I know. I think it is about attachment styles, like
Right.
what complements yours versus like. I mean, it sounds like her career is like taking off, and then it doesn't feel great to have someone being like, "What about me?"
I find always when I hear stories like that, when it's the woman that's succeeding,
Yeah.
that it becomes about, in my mind, and maybe this is my own bias, it becomes about male insecurity.
Yes.
It does. It's not about like, I want to spend more time with you. It's about like, you're leaving me behind,
Yeah.
and no woman
Yeah.
of mine is going to make me behind.
Yeah.
And
It
also,
always
yeah.
feels like that.
she's also following her dream, her
Yes.
art and her
Yeah.
path, and a lot of people aren't. And so then they're like, "Oh, you have this free flow
Yes.
of like creativity, and I don't."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people really do need to be with someone who's maybe less successful.
Yeah. And I feel like
think
that's
so.
men. I think that's, to me, that feels so male. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna be with some woman that's she's earning. I mean, it's classic. She's
Right,
earning more than me.
right.
And like, by the way, maybe it's just because I'm like patting myself on the back because I'm with a very successful woman.
Oh, honey, I am so ready to quit. You got to I did the first half of the marriage. Now you take
Maybe
over.
you did. I was working the whole time. What, do you think I was just sitting here eating bonbons?
I'm just saying I need a break.
Well,
Podcast only. I love the podcast. Okay, listen, we're going to listen to some secrets.
Ooh.
Hi, Natasha. Hi, Moshe. I am thoroughly happy with my love life. I actually just got married. I eloped with my partner in Italy. Best time ever. But I am a recovering hoe. And I used to tell the guys that I fucked, this is like way before I met my husband, but I used to tell the guys that I fucked that I was a squirter to make them think that every single time we fucked, they should have been making me squirt, when in reality I've never squirted a day in my entire life. But I used to just seriously be with the dumbest fuckboys ever, and I wanted them to kind of always feel like they weren't the ace that they thought they were. And it worked out well for me because I didn't end up with any of those assholes. Okay, thanks, bye.
Wow.
She's cool.
I know.
Does not have imposter syndrome.
She's spreading self-doubt. I love that.
She's infecting people with imposter syndrome. That's wild.
That is wild.
It's cool on a number of levels. It's like, yeah, sure, it's like revolutionary feminism, like take them down a peg, but it also ensures that she's getting a better lay.
Yeah.
Because they just keep going and trying. How about this? How about that?
I can't fuck dumbasses.
All right.
I know.
You're not a hoe. You're not a recovering hoe.
Oh, so a hoe is like a man.
She did say she was in recovery.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And congratulations on the sober time.
Wait, so a hoe is like just like has sex with anybody.
Yeah, and
a man has sex with anybody.
Well, not all men are hoes.
That's true.
It is true. I mean, more men are hoes.
Right.
Yes, more men.
Most men will fuck anything.
I don't think that's. I mean, most. That's a hard thing.
No, I remember
90%.
I remember a guy I was friends with in my 20s who would always be like, "My girlfriend wants to have sex all the time, and I don't." So I feel like sometimes there's some men.
No, but that's different than
That is
men
different
will
than
fuck
hoe.
anything.
Oh, okay.
That is different from a hoe. That's so funny. You're so innocent. You're like, yeah, I know this. I know a bunch of hoes. This one dude, he can't stop having sex with his committed girlfriend. He's a slut. Him and his wife.
He didn't want to though.
He's just less horny. But yeah, I think a hoe isn't just about how horny you are.
I'm saying I can't even get it up for someone who I don't think is cool in some way. Where she was like, these guys are such dumbasses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for her, it felt like it was like also just about the game that was like fun to her. Yeah.
I love the idea of making a confident person a little insecure with a physiological tick that he's heard about as almost as mythology. He's like, I know there are squirters out there, and she is one. There's something wrong with me. It's so good.
It's so good.
I will say this, as a recovering hoe myself, there's something that is a little bit separately hot about hooking up with someone that you have nothing in common with and kind of find their personality's eye roll. There's something erotic about like, this person. Yeah, to a hoe.
Oh, I see.
I think it's a different. If you're only a relationship person, you would never know that flavor of sexuality because they don't turn you on to be in a relationship with them. So you would just walk the other way.
Right.
But as a person that has walked that hoe path, I think there is something hot about that.
I'm a relationship hoe.
I used to tell every woman I was with that I was a squirter, and it just never happened.
You're a squirter.
Yeah, all men are squirters.
All men are squirters.
Okay, do we have another secret?
Hi, my secret, I have a secret to give. My secret is about 10 years ago, I met a guy when I was in college, and he was friends with friends, and I just thought he was this sweet boy. I thought he was gay, honestly. He was so sweet and like organized and wholesome and gentle and not a douchebag, and I just thought he was our cool gay friend. But then I got signals that he liked me, and I was like, oh no, if he's not gay and he likes me, like that just means he's kind of like a soft boy. He just isn't manly and strong and doesn't treat me like crap, so he can't be a real man. So then I eventually one night was like, okay, fine, let's do this. So we went up to my room, we had sex. He said, you made me excited. It was weird. And I was just kind of like squicked out about it. But then I did like end up falling for him. And then
it happens.
Like the next week he brought a girl to my house to the Halloween party, and I got so heartbroken and devastated about it. And then fast forward, we're married now. I've never told him that I thought he was gay when I first met him. I never told him that I thought he was like not a true man. And now we're really happily married, and he's getting a sniff right now, so that's fun. Okay,
he's getting what right now?
He's getting a sniff right now? I don't know.
A sniff?
Well, listen, I think that sometimes we also do snap judgments when we meet people.
Yes.
And I think it's common, like, so, it's good to push through that sometimes.
This episode is having, I'm just realizing, it's got a real misandrist theme to it. There's a lot of real bashing going on here. Soft men are weak. They can't satisfy us. The art man was pathetic. Men, I tell men that I'm a squirter, so they're never truly satisfied. This is interesting. I feel unoffended.
It's almost like there's something in the air.
Yeah.
Well, like what?
Matriarch's coming, baby.
That would be
Matriarchy.
honestly, if there was ever a time, and this is not me saying this is like I'm an ally, but if there was ever a time for the matriarchy to like say, hey, no, we're actually in charge now, this would be a good era, like the strongman era of world politics.
Yeah.
It would just be nice if like women were just like, you know what, we are going to be in charge now. I feel like things would be better.
But there's just not enough of them in power.
No, I'm saying we got to do some sort of like, what we do is we get a bunch of these men that were told that they couldn't make the girls squirt, have them overthrow all the governments in power because they're frustrated already, and install some women.
Love it.
All right, I love it too. Aparna, you got one more secret in you?
One more secret.
Hi, Moshe and Natasha. I am really high, so if this is incoherent, I want you to know that's just how I think.
He's like, I'm the husband of the last call.
I'm calling you in the midst of a secret as it's happening in my life. So for some backstory, I am practically a nudist, and I share my nudity with the world through X, formerly known as Twitter. Today I had some fun with editing and made it look like I had a twin. And I did it very lazily. I didn't remove any moles anywhere. We have the same haircut. We have, the same body shape. It's clearly me 2 times, but X, formerly known as Twitter, is convinced that I have a twin, and I don't know when to give up the bit. I've gained like 400 followers at this point, and it just keeps going up. It's just really weighing on me that I eventually have to let them know that I'm only one person. But there have been a lot of offers for threesomes, so that's really good to know that people want that out of me and my potential twin brother. Anyway, thank you.
Why does he need to let Musk know?
No, he means his followers.
This is an actual imposter.
Wow.
And he is struggling about it, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I mean, this guy, I would just say, take it all the way.
I know. I sort of agree. It's like, what? Who is he hurting?
Yeah. I mean, he should, honestly, it sounds like he's a bit like a porno man, right?
What does practically a nudist mean?
And how do can you post nude pictures on X, formerly known as Twitter?
I think that you can. I think that you can put porn on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Can?
That's the new rules of X, formerly known as Twitter?
I think I'm right about that. Yeah, Twitter's always been more open to that kind of thing. So I think this person should fuck himself and get all the more fault. There's no one sinning. There's nothing bad happening.
Wait, like a deep fake?
Yeah, like a deep fake of self-fuck porn. That's, to me, that's a victimless crime by definition.
That's true.
I love this.
Maybe one of the only good uses of AI?
Yes, we should go before Congress and say this. One of the only good uses of AI we've encountered is there's a guy who's practically a nudist. Anyway, he's been posting incest porn with himself, and there's no victim.
All right, listen. Well, Aparna, you have been a delight.
Thank you for having me.
Always a delight.
We love you. We love seeing your live shows. Do you have any live dates you want to plug in addition to everyone going out there and getting Aparna's book, Unreliable Narrator? What's the subtitle?
Me, Myself, and Imposter Syndrome.
Yes.
I
love that.
Yeah, live dates.
But yeah, live dates I keep on my website, aparnacomedy.com.
Aparna is, I will speak about you as if you're not here. Aparna is a phenomenal comedian.
She really
is. A phenomenal, hilarious comedian and a delight to have around. A nice person. And most importantly, very cool.
Oh, man. Coming from you guys.
And we know it means a lot.
All right. Well, thanks, Aparna.
Thank you.